imagine more stories that soar, business, life, and so much more. Laughs, lessons, and local delight. It's the podcast that feels just right. It's the Imagine More podcast.
Welcome to the Imagine More podcast, where we believe big dreams deserve a real plan. Each week, we sit down with visionaries, creators, and change makers who are turning ideas into action. This isn't about overnight success stories. It's about real people, real journeys, and the real magic that happens when you imagine just a little bit more. I'm your host, Rose Young, and today's guest is an author who lived a life full of stories and then decided to write them down for the rest of us to enjoy. If this is your first time with us, welcome. I am so glad you're here. Teri M. Brown is an award-winning author, a cross-country adventurer, and someone who clearly isn't afraid to tell the truth, even when it's a little uncomfortable, a little messy, and a lot funny. Her newest book, Peg Unhinged, comes out this April, so this month. And let me just say, Peg is juggling menopause, divorce, brain fog, emotional landmines, and a soon-to-be ex who clearly did not get the memo on timing. So naturally, she's doing great. Teri, welcome to the Imagine More podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be a fun conversation.
Oh, yeah. I'm already laughing thinking about Peg Unhinged. Before we jump into Peg, though, I want to start with you. You were born in Greece, grew up moving around as an Air Force brat, and now you've built this incredible writing career. When you look back at that childhood, what do you think it gave you that shows up in your writing today?
I think it just gave me stories. It allowed me to see life and to experience people. And even from a little girl, I had a story because people would say, "Oh, where are you born?" And I could say Athens, Greece.
Yeah,
right?
Really, that's true.
And
that's true.
That made me special. Now, it didn't, but it did in my mind.
Yeah.
Because all of my friends were not born in Athens, Greece.
That's
they were all
exactly
born
true.
in, a little town of North Canton, Ohio, or whatever it was. And so I think that idea that there was something like special, almost like magical about
I
the
love
fact.
that.
And that I've always been a storyteller. I think I got that from my dad, but I just have this need to tell stories, and I've always had imaginary characters that live in my head and tell me things. And so, yeah, I think that was just part of it, that idea that I was different and special.
Nice. Well, my youngest child, she always says, I was born on a blueberry farm.
Yeah.
So she wasn't, she was born in a hospital in Springdale, Arkansas, but at the time we had a blueberry farm. So
right. And, it's funny how things like that set you apart somehow among your peers. And it just, I don't know why, but it's like, wow, it makes me so special.
And somewhere along the way, Moore County became part of your story. How did you land here? And what does this community mean to you now?
So when I landed here, I was 15 years old. And I was in the middle of my freshman year in high school, and we moved from Ohio, and I hated my parents.
Gosh.
I could not imagine why they had done this to me.
Yes.
In 1979, when I moved here, Moore County had one stoplight, and that was that was at US 1 and 15501, and it had one movie theater that had two screens, and sometimes both screens played the same show.
Oh, gosh, you're kidding.
No, and I had come from a community that was big enough to have a bus system, and I would jump on the bus with my girlfriends and go to the mall. And we moved here.
Gosh, we don't even have a mall.
No,
we still don't have a mall.
I know. And I was mortified, and I was sure that I wanted to go back home. And my parents told my brother and I that if we didn't like it here, after a year, they would take us home.
Really?
So I had every intention of hating it for a year so I could go back to where I belonged.
Right.
And somewhere in there, I made a few friends.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as I made friends, I was fine and I was happy and life was good. And I've lived in North Carolina ever since.
Have you really?
Yes, I have. And so I've been in North Carolina since 79. I lived in Moore County for a good chunk of that. In and out. I went to Greensboro for a while where I went to college and I had my first 3 children, but then I moved back here.
Uh-huh.
I ended up in Sanford for a little while just
Okay.
because I was divorced. I needed something a little less expensive and I could afford.
Divorce.
Yeah, I could afford Sanford.
Like Peg.
Like Peg, yes. And I currently live at the beach.
Really?
Yes.
Do you live in a duplex?
No, I don't. I don't. And I don't actually live on the beach.
Okay.
I live by the beach.
Okay. What beach? What area?
So I live in Calabash.
Okay.
And so the closest beach is Sunset Beach.
Oh, nice.
So
we love it up there.
So do I. I absolutely love where I live. But my mom still lives here. And
Okay.
my daughter lives here. And my brother
really?
lives here. And I'm back here all the time because I have family here and grandchildren
Right.
here. And so this
Right.
is
And it's only like a 2.5 hour or 2 hour jaunt.
it's a little over 2 hours, and it kind of just depends on, did you get stuck in traffic between
Yes.
Laurinburg and here?
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you didn't start out writing novels.
No.
You were helping businesses tell their stories. At what point did something shift and you thought to yourself, I have my own stories to tell?
Well, I started with small businesses because I was a stay-at-home mom and we needed another income. But I wanted to be home. And the internet in 2000 was a relatively new invention. And there were all of these small businesses who were putting their websites out for the first time and not doing a good job of it in terms of what they were writing about themselves.
Right.
And so I started approaching them and saying, let me help you rewrite this. And then I started writing like small pamphlets and things that they were passing out to their customers and those kinds of things. And so it just kind of grew.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. And it really helped because I could still stay at home. I
Right.
did this around my children's schedules and whatnot. And so it really worked out well for me. I wanted to start writing, but I was in my second marriage and it was not a good one. And it was emotionally abusive. And I couldn't write fiction because what if I put it out there and people hated it?
Yeah, that's
You know what I'm saying?
scary.
Because
it's very scary.
Because that's your soul.
Right.
You know, when I write nonfiction for businesses, that's just words.
Right. Okay.
When I write a character,
Oh my goodness. I never thought of it like that.
that's my heart.
Uh-huh.
Right. And so
Right.
then you think, well, I can't put that out there because if someone doesn't like it, then what?
Yeah.
Right? But I got out of that relationship in 2017 and words started pouring out of me.
Really?
Just pouring out of me. Yeah.
2017. And
Yes.
you've got like 9 books, don't
Right.
you?
And the first book didn't come out until 22.
No. Talk about words pouring out of you.
Like,
oh my God.
I had a lot to say and had just waited so long to say it. And so then it started coming out. But what really happened is that I met Bruce, who became my third husband. And I know that makes me sound like a crazy person, but I was never getting married again. And when we met, he tells everyone that he chased me until I caught him.
Yeah.
So he just
that.
he just didn't go away, and I got used to him being around. But he wanted to do this big adventure. He wanted to ride across the United States on a bicycle, and I had been wanting to do something big and bold because I felt like I needed to prove to the world I still had value. I didn't need to prove that.
No. Oh,
But-
gosh, I thought you were
No.
saying you didn't have
No.
value. Oh
No.
my gosh.
I didn't need to prove that,
Okay.
but I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Right.
just felt like people were looking at me and had made this judgment that I was, in my mid-50s and life was over for me and that I wasn't going to amount to anything and I was no good. I mean, that's kind of the way my mind was going.
Right.
I had not been on a bicycle in 40 years.
Oh my goodness.
And I looked at him and I said, are you going to talk about this forever or are you going to do it? And he said,
really?
yeah, he said, I want to do it. And I said, count me in.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I had no intention of marrying him.
So you weren't married at
No.
this time?
No, we were married by the time we went on the trip.
Okay.
But at the time that I said, count me in, I didn't plan to marry. But
Really?
I thought I can do an adventure. I mean, you
Sure,
don't have to
why
be married to do an
not?
adventure,
Yeah.
right? And so we eventually went in the summer of 2020, COVID summer,
COVID summer.
Yeah. And
Oh, goodness. You decided to ride a bicycle across country during COVID.
well, we decided to ride a bicycle cross country during 2020, and then COVID happened.
Oh, my
And then we chose not
gosh.
to let it stop us. And we started in Astoria, Oregon. We rode to Washington, D.C., which is 3,102 miles.
That's incredible.
And at the end of that trip, now I already had several manuscripts written, not very good ones, but, things that were written, but I wasn't showing them to anyone.
Right.
And at the end, very tail end of this trip, as we're coming up on our stopping point, I thought, I can do anything. I just rode across the United States on a tandem bicycle.
Yes, heck yes.
So the question is, what do I want? And I said, I want to be an author. And 14 months later, my first book came out.
What was your first book?
Sunflowers Beneath the Snow.
Sunflowers Beneath the Snow. And it's all fiction except
Yes.
for your tandem bike ride.
That's right. So I did write a book called 10 Little Rules for a Double-Butted Adventure, which are 10 life lessons I learned while on that trip.
Really? Now, did you have any trouble? Because I remember when we decided, because I was a school teacher at the time in 2020 and living up in Virginia, but we had a house down here. And I was like, well, we're doing it online. I can live anywhere. Let's go to our house in North Carolina. And we were scared to stop at the gas station, to go to the bathroom, to get gas. It's like you didn't want to be around any people. How did you forge through all that?
By the time we went, it was July. So we got started the very tail end of June. Things were opening up a little bit. We were also up north. And if you go back and you look at where COVID was raging, it really wasn't raging in those northern states yet.
Okay.
I mean, eventually it raged there, but it really
Right.
wasn't at that time. We wore masks whenever we went, not while we were riding. There was no need. You're out in the air all by yourselves.
Right.
But when we would stop at a store, we'd pull the mask out. I think I became 92% hand sanitizer. We used it all the time. And we were very blessed. We did not get sick. I mean, we never got anything. The only thing that I got was I drank some tainted water one time, and then I ended up with, I think it's called Giardia or something.
Oh,
That was awful. But other than that, we didn't get sick.
How long did it take you?
So we were gone for a little over 3 months, and it was 72 actual riding days.
72 days you made it 3,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord. That's incredible.
It was a really cool journey.
Sunburn.
Oh yeah, and we rode in too much sun. We rode in the rain. I got hailed on one time. Flat tires, huge mosquitoes.
Oh wow.
I mean, crazy things that happened. We ended up sleeping in a park one night. It was allowed. It was open for people, but the park was in use by other people, and there was a drum circle of intoxicated Native Americans who were drumming and circling most of the night.
Oh my goodness.
So it was some crazy things that we experienced, but it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. That is incredible. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, it's just not even there. I can't even imagine.
We had some experiences that were unbelievable. One day we were riding. It was the end of a day. It was a long day. We were going up again. And I was looking down and just watching my feet, and kind of had gotten into this rhythm of, push, 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 and I was just trying to get through. We had 5 or 6 miles left, and it was just let's just get this day done. And all of a sudden Bruce says, "Teri, look." And I looked up, and there were horses running with us. They were in the pasture next to the road.
Oh, wow.
And they were running with us.
Oh, wow.
And
That
it's like-
tears me up a little.
Yeah, and you can't pay for an experience like that, right?
No.
So yeah, we just had some incredible things. So yes, huge mosquitoes and horses that ran with us. So,
I have experienced the huge mosquitoes. We lived in Wyoming for a little while, and we decided to go on a picnic. And we pulled up, we got our dogs, we pulled up into the field in the truck. I'm getting all my stuff together. We opened the door to get out. And I am telling you, these things were, I've never seen anything that big.
yeah, I know.
And they just swarmed us. Got back in that truck.
Well, I tell people that it's like these mosquitoes. I said they're the size of a fist. I don't think they were quite that big, but that's the way
Well,
it
with the
felt.
wings and
yes.
everything.
And it's like they were landing on us despite the fact that we were covered in bug spray. So I feel like they ate
They
that
didn't
for
care.
breakfast.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh my gosh.
that was
Yeah,
crazy.
it's horrible. All right, let's talk about Peg.
Oh,
I started reading it once I met you. I started reading your book, and I'm excited to hear you talk about it. So she walks into the story already having lived a full life, career, family, responsibilities, and then everything starts to shift. Where did Peg come from for you?
So when I was a little girl, the pre-adolescent girl, I read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret,
Yes.
at least 1,000,000 times.
Me too.
So I had my own copy, and it was falling apart.
Did you dog ear then?
I probably did.
Yeah.
I don't anymore, just so everyone knows. I do not. But I had read that book over and over and over. And my friends and I did all of the, I must increase my bust exercises.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, I forgot about that.
And we could not wait for this thing called, being an adult woman. Like, we just couldn't wait. I was probably the first girl to think afterward, why were we excited about this? Let's be done with that. But that was just the book of my childhood. It was just something that meant a lot to me. Well, it became a movie a few years back. And in that period, there was a lot of, talk about it and everything. And I think I saw an interview and I thought, I wonder whatever happened to Margaret.
Yeah.
And my thought is by now she goes by Peg and she's going through menopause.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, that's a book.
There it is.
That's a book. So it is not Judy Blume's Margaret. This is not her, but it is a Margaret.
Yes.
Who probably read Judy Blume's book as a child and who is saying to herself, what is this thing called menopause? Right?
I feel for her. When you first started writing her, did you know right away who she was, or did she reveal herself to you?
She reveals herself, at least I do. I know something about them. Like they're there in my head. I knew that she was going to be funny. I knew that this was going to be kind of my humor, which is a little bit sarcastic, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, a little bit eye-rolling. Like I felt like that's who she needed to be. But as we went on,
right,
I got to know her so much better. And the hardest thing, though, was keeping her humor the whole way through without making her slapstick, because she's not slapstick. She's real. She's a woman who's dealing with stuff. And how does she do that? And how do you make it funny even when something not so funny is happening?
Right.
And so it was harder than I thought it was going to be.
Oh gosh, well, I can tell you so far, I have laughed out loud several times. I've yelled at her.
Yes,
She's doing the wrong thing.
She's hiding things she shouldn't be hiding. She's telling things she shouldn't be telling. Yeah.
I love this idea that she's holding everything together with duct tape and dark humor. That feels like something a lot of people understand more than they might admit.
Absolutely. And I think any woman who has experienced any of even the pre-menopausal stuff where all of a sudden you get a hot flash out of nowhere, or you have the brain fog and you've set your phone down and now you've looked everywhere and you have no idea where it is and you find it in your refrigerator, that you understand Peg.
Right.
So even if you're angry at her in the moment, you understand her. You say, okay, come on, Peg. I know you can do this.
Right.
And you want her to be okay, because if not, then you're not going to be okay. And you know that. So you keep saying, come on, Peg, you've got this.
So is that why you think we connect to her so easily?
I think so, because there isn't a woman alive who isn't either experiencing it, has experienced it, or is going to.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And
right.
So, yeah, I think, and I've even had a few men read it for me as advanced readers, and they've liked it, which makes me laugh, because I could not believe that. I would have thought men would say, this is just not a book for me, but they laughed and found a lot of joy in it too. And I think partially because although they don't experience it, they often live with someone who's experiencing it.
That's right. I think it's good for them. They should read it. You should read it. And she's wanting to get it all together, but she doesn't pretend that she does have it all together. I like that.
Yeah, she's just real.
She is. She's very real. What do you think Peg would say about the life she thought she'd have versus the one she's living?
I think Peg certainly at the beginning of the story,
Yes.
thought that her life was just the way she wanted it.
Right.
And she had no intention of being divorced. She had no intention of losing her job. She had no intent, like her life was going just the way that
Right.
she had planned it to be, except that she wasn't happy. And she wasn't willing to say that. Because you can't be unhappy with the life that you said you wanted.
Right.
Right? The kind of, I
Yes.
made my bed, I'm going to lie in it. I'm going to make
Yes.
it the best bed ever, and that was kind of
Right.
her attitude. But as it started to unravel, and now she's having to figure out, how do I put it back together?
Right.
She started to recognize, I don't want that again. It wasn't good for me.
Yes.
Like there was one place in the book where she realizes she lives at the beach, not even at the beach, but on the beach.
Yes.
She can see the sunrise from her
Yes.
apartment, and or her duplex, and she has not been out on the beach in so long that she can't tell you when it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then she goes out, falls asleep, and gets so
sunburned.
sunburned.
And then I think the part that I really love about that is she doesn't even take responsibility for that. She blames it on her friend.
That's right.
Right? Like if my friend hadn't forced me to go out and sit in the sun, this wouldn't have happened, right?
She's not taking that accountability
Not
yet.
yet.
Not yet. I'm not where she starts taking accountability yet, but I see the change. I see the change coming in.
Yes, she is. And I think that's what women, that's what I really want. Like this is a funny story, and you don't have to get anything from it if you don't want to.
Right.
But if you do get something from it, I hope you see that life isn't over at 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80. It's not over until you say it's over, and that you can keep reinventing yourself, and that not only can you, but you probably should.
Yeah.
Because what worked for you at 20 might not be working for you anymore. And it's okay to say, hey, I'd like to do something different.
Yeah.
I'd like to be different.
Absolutely. Look, I'm tearing up. Tears are actually coming from my eyes, you guys. Thank goodness we're all audio here. Did you find yourself relating to her in ways that surprised you while you were writing?
She definitely became a friend.
Oh, yeah.
Like she sits in my head, and she's pegged my friend. And I would worry about her.
Yes, you would.
I would be done with a chapter, kind of done for the day. I needed to take a break. And my mind would still be back with Peg going, gosh, what is she going to do about it? And it was like, Teri, you're writing the story. You can make anything happen that you want.
Goodness.
But it doesn't feel like I wrote the story.
Yeah.
It feels like Peg wrote the story and then told it to me.
Oh, that is so cool. I just love that. I love talking to you about it. Do you feel that way about most of your characters?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
My writing style is different. I am a pantser, which means that I don't have an outline. I write by the seat of my pants. I just sit down and I start writing. And I often feel like my characters are dictating to me.
Really?
And that I'm just typing down what they're telling me. Now, I recognize my characters are coming from me. They're part of my creativity, but it doesn't feel that way while I'm in that zone. It actually feels like I'm having a conversation with a character. And I've tried to write things before and have a character say to me, I wouldn't do that.
Really?
and I'm like, yeah, but I need you to do that so that I can do this thing in the book. And they're like, yeah, but I wouldn't, I'm not going to do that. And you're like, okay, fine. And then you have to come up with something else.
Up with something else.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But I've had them, and I've actually had my characters lean up against the wall and tap their feet and say, you let us know when you're done with that stupid experiment and we'll get back to writing.
No. That's hysterical. Peg is dealing with menopause, divorce, and watching her ex move on. And somehow you made that funny. How did you find that balance between humor and honesty?
It was harder than it seemed. I would write a chapter and then I would let it sit and I would go back to it the next day and I would read it. And sometimes it was like, that it doesn't work. I've lost her voice. She isn't funny, or she's too funny.
Right.
Like this is a little more serious than that. And so it really was just a matter of like, read it and try to read it as not the author, but as a reader. And say, how do I feel? Was there enough funny? Because I didn't want it to be a downer book. I didn't want people to read it and go, oh, this is
it's not
so
down
heavy
book at all.
Right? But it could be.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
I mean,
gosh,
we're
yes.
talking about
Could be drama, light
right,
drama.
right. I mean,
Uh-huh.
there's divorce and she's drinking too
Yeah.
much and she's
Gaining weight.
gaining weight and
Mhm.
she's actually working with a community of abused women. I mean, all of this
Yeah.
could
Oh, my
very
gosh.
much
Oh, yeah.
be, and I even had someone tell me, they said, well, menopause isn't funny.
Yeah.
And I laughed and I said, well, it isn't when you're going through it, but it is if it's someone else.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the tact that I took was
Yeah.
we can laugh at other people,
Right.
and
Right.
so we
And
can
then when it
laugh.
happens to us, we
Right.
can remember.
Well, and I think when it happens to us, we can feel not so alone in it.
Yeah.
Like I am not the only person who's put my phone in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that's wonderful to know?
I haven't done that yet, but
I hate to admit it, but I have.
oh, you
And
have?
I was putting away my groceries and I had my phone in my hand and I think
Uh-huh.
I must have set it on the shelf to like put something in
Yeah.
a drawer. And then I
Makes
closed the
sense.
door and now it's, an hour later and I'm thinking, where did I put my phone? And I'm looking everywhere. I can't find it. And then
Oh, how frustrating.
eventually I opened the refrigerator to get food and there's my phone. And it's like, well, let's hope that this didn't ruin it. It's a little cold in there, but
So let me think. So there were moments, there was hot flashes,
Yeah.
the brain fog,
Yeah.
the emotional landmines, the alcohol. Did you ever think this might be a little too much for her, but you did it anyway?
Yeah, I did. I wondered, like, do I give her everything? Because,
Yeah.
you go through and you look at all the different things that can happen with menopause. And your
Right.
skin can get dry and you can get itchy and you can start having new allergies. And, I could have gone on. I could have given
Right.
her even more. But I thought what I wanted to do was give her the most common, most known, most people understand. And yeah, she's got a bad case of it. And most of us never feel quite that. But I wanted people who read it to be able to say, oh, there I am.
Yes, yes.
So you had to give her enough. You couldn't have her have a mild case of menopause and then have this work.
Right.
She
that's
needed
right.
to really be having a time.
She had to get to rock bottom
Yes.
so she
yes.
could climb back up.
Yes, absolutely. My favorite parts were her hot flashes that just seemed to come at the most inappropriate,
Oh,
most
yeah.
horrible moments. And then the ways that she handled it, like sticking her face in the refrigerator or putting ice cubes down her bra.
Yeah.
I just,
That melted. And I liked when she was trying to hide it from
Yes.
Trevor, and he's like, your face is bright.
bright red. Are you sure you're okay? Oh, yes, I'm fine.
All right, Teri, I would love for our listeners to hear Peg in her own voice. Would you read one of your favorite passages from Peg Unhinged for us?
Yeah, let me find here. I am going to read. So she talks to God. And when she's talking to God, she's just this isn't a prayer like you would hear in church. This
Right.
is just Peg having a conversation. And it's when she's the most honest.
Yes.
And it's when she's really like letting loose. But her first, hey, God moment, she's just kind of explaining who she is. And I want to read a little portion of that.
Okay.
Let's see. Anyway, puberty arrived at last, and life became easier to handle over the ensuing years with as much grace as a person can given the monthly hormonal swings. And we won't bring up the pregnancies other than to say someday we will be chatting about the female body and all its complexities.
Yeah.
Why you chose to create one sex that, once through puberty, remains static for the next half century, while creating another that changes faster than most people change underwear.
No kidding.
But once again, I digress, which is my new normal. What was I saying? Pregnancy, hormones. Oh, yes, I haven't spoken to you since puberty.
Yeah.
And I didn't find it necessary until another woman's reflection in the mirror took over where mine used to be. When the bingo wing forearms, the chin hair that needs more razor time than the pit hair,
Yeah.
and the boobs who now live south of the vagina. You are okay with the word vagina? Would lady bits be better? It's your choice. Back to the point. When these are the best parts about this thing called menopause, it's time to chat.
Yeah.
So, God, I've got a few questions, and I'm afraid this isn't going to be a picnic.
Yeah. That was one of the times I laughed, went out loud when the boobs went
Yes.
past the vagina.
That came to me because my grandmother in her 70s ended up with breast cancer, and she discovered a lump. She went to her just regular doctor. Her regular gynecologist
Right.
and said to him, I think I found this lump. And he said, yes, you know what? We need to get you to someone who specializes. And then he said to her, I work south of the belly button. And she said, well, that's where it is.
Yeah.
So, and this was a story that she told in the midst of all of that was going on with her. And so I always laughed at that. And so it had to make that into the book because, yeah.
What is it about this moment that you read when that was her first talk with
Yes.
God, wasn't it?
Yes.
That you love?
I think that it just kind of sets the tone. Like I wanted you to see that this is not fun, that she is experiencing these things. She doesn't know what's going on with her, and that you see right away that this is going to be funny.
Yes.
That this is going to be a wild ride. And I also really feel like it kind of explains the way most women feel about this thing called menopause. It's like, what is going on with this body of mine? I used to be able to eat anything, and now I gain weight walking through the grocery store.
Right.
I saw food, and now I'm 7 pounds heavier. Like, what happened? And so I think right away, women go, oh, I can understand this.
Yes,
this makes sense
it's
to me.
true.
So.
If it's true. Okay, let's see. We've talked about Peg, and we've talked about your bike ride. So let's talk about your genres that you write. I was amazed. Historical fiction, inspirational, and now something that feels very bold and very real, fiction. What gave you that confidence to write Peg Unhinged, and how do you write from here to there and all over the place like you do?
Well, a lot of people tell me that I'm probably ruining my writing career because I'm not sticking to a genre.
Oh, really?
But I don't think that is true in today's world. It used to be when you had to get a big 5 publisher that once you wrote a historical fiction, you were considered a historical fiction author and you weren't allowed to write anything else until you became so famous that then you could experiment.
Write whatever.
Right. In today's world, you don't quite have that because you can self-publish. I can put anything out that I want. But what I really tell people is I'm not a historical fiction author or a women's fiction author. I love characters.
Right.
I do character-driven fiction.
Okay.
And I tell everyone my whole goal in everything I do is to introduce readers to characters they'd love to invite to lunch.
Okay.
And
nice.
so whether I'm writing the character or whether I am interviewing another author or I'm trying to show readers, here's some great characters that you should get to know.
Yeah.
And so Peg was just another great character. And her character came to me and could not be historical. Can you imagine trying to put Peg in a historical setting? It wouldn't have worked. Because, let's even just go back 100 years. 100 years ago, a lot of women weren't living to menopause.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Oh,
100 years ago, even if they,
yeah.
and even if they did, they weren't talking about it. It's not like women were standing around talking about their hot.
We're just now talking about it.
We're barely talking about it.
That's true.
Right? Like I mean, you can still go to the doctor and have the doctor pat you on the head and say, well, it's just age. And it's like, no, there's something wrong.
Exactly.
Like if a man were feeling this way, you'd fix him. So let's do something about this.
Yeah.
So I think that, knowing that she had to be now.
Yes.
And she was a character that would not leave my head. So she had to be written. And so for me, it's not about the time period or even the where. It's about the character. And then I say, where does this character need to be to make this story happen?
Really? So the character comes to you first.
Yes.
So how do you know when a character becomes a book?
So a character will jump into my head. It'll start making a little bit of noise. I will often write down a sentence or two and then put it away. Okay, so now I have that idea down. But if the character keeps coming back and keeps coming back, like I'm doing something else and there's that character again, and I'm out taking a walk and there's that character again, then I start to realize, I think this is the story. This is the next thing that I'm going to write. Unfortunately, sometimes, like with Peg, they start knocking before I'm ready.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, Peg, I get it. You're next, but you've got to be quiet because I'm finishing this last book and I can't do two at once.
Right. Oh my gosh. So you finished what was your last book?
So it was Daughters of Green Mountain Gap.
Daughters of Green Mountain
Gap.
Gap. And then while you were finishing that,
Peg was screaming. Yeah. Peg kept saying,
kidding.
hello, hello, it's my turn. And it was like, Peg, I need you to have a little bit of patience.
She doesn't have patience.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah.
I needed her. It was like, I need you to hush now. Go have a glass of wine. Leave me alone. Let me finish what I'm doing because I absolutely cannot write two books at the same time.
I don't see how
Now,
you
some
could.
women, some people do.
Oh,
I know
that's insane.
authors that have 2 and 3 projects going at the same time.
How in the world?
I am not that person.
Yeah.
And I think partially because I write by the seat of my pants that, maybe if you have an outline and you know where you're going,
Oh,
you might.
I see.
But
yeah.
I'm not that.
No.
And so, no, it's like, hush, Peg, hush. I promise you I'll get to you. And then poor Peg, in the midst of all of this, my husband ended up getting ill. He got glioblastoma, which is an incurable brain cancer, and he passed away a year ago.
Oh.
And I was writing Peg in the midst of all of that.
Oh,
and it was
wow.
really hard because she was insistent and I didn't have time. So I would sit and I would write a little bit and then not write. And then once he passed away, I didn't write for months.
Really?
And she just sat there.
And was she calm during that
During
time?
that period of time, I don't think if she was speaking to me, I wasn't listening.
Okay.
I think that I was just in my own little, world of grief
Of course
and I
you were.
wasn't hearing her. But I went to a writer's retreat last August in New York, far away from home. And I wasn't even sure that I should go because I had not been able to write anything. It had been 8 months. I hadn't written a thing. And I thought, I'm probably wasting my time.
Right.
But as soon as I got there, Peg said, okay, are you ready now?
Really?
And I finished the first draft of the book while in New York and then was able to come here to Weymouth, where I do writer's retreats. And I came here in October and I did all of the editing and got it ready to go out. So
tell us a little bit about the writer's retreat at Weymouth.
Weymouth Writers in Residence is the best.
Yes.
The best. There is something about that home.
Really? Do you have a special room that you have to stay in?
No, I can stay anywhere, but I love the Thomas Wolfe room.
Okay.
That's my favorite room, but really it isn't the room. It's I don't even know. It's like on my way here.
Uh-huh.
I start getting ideas. I can't wait to write. I can hardly get my stuff in the door fast enough.
Really?
And I sit down and write.
Wow.
So I arrived on a Monday. By the time I got settled in, it was 4:00. And by 6:00, I had already written 1,500 words.
Oh my goodness.
Like it was just like, oh, I have
Just
things to
gotta
say.
come out pouring.
There's something about that space.
Really?
And part of it is I've been there 9 times now. And so I think my mind is like, it knows, oh, good, we're going someplace to write. And so all the characters start talking and chatting and screaming about which one's going to get to be written first. And, tell me, it's like, okay, I've got it. So.
Do you ever speak? Are any of your characters you?
They're all me.
They're all you.
But not me, if that
Yes.
makes So there's some of me in all of my characters.
Okay.
Some of me the way I used to be, sometimes some of me the way I wish I was.
Yeah.
There's a character in Sunflowers Beneath the Snow. She's young and she's adventurous and she travels from Ukraine to America at the age of 19. And I wish that had been me.
Yeah.
I wish that I was so timid when I was that age. And there's
Uh-huh.
no way I would have gone across the world into a country where I didn't speak the language. Like there's just no way I would have done it. I wish that I had.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's that.
Okay.
So I'm in all of them. I am in Peg, not entirely, but I am there. My daughter's currently reading the book and she called me last night and she said, I see a little bit of you in Peg.
Yeah.
And I laughed. And she said, but just so you feel better, I also see a little of you in Beth. And Beth is a very calm character. I don't know if you've gotten to her yet, but
Nah.
she's a much calmer character who becomes a friend of Peg's. And
Okay.
so when she said that, I thought, well, good. So she sees me in both, and that makes me feel a little better.
Do your children read all your books?
I don't know that. So I have 4 children, and then I have 3 stepchildren.
Uh-huh.
So huge family. I know my stepdaughters all read the books, and I think 2 of my 4 children read them, and I'm not sure about the other two.
Yeah.
I think they're all excited that I'm an author, but I don't really write. Two of my kids are really into fantasy. And I just don't write that. And I don't think that my books are the kinds of things that make them go, oh, I can't wait to read it. So
Yeah. Do you have a favorite out of your 9 books?
no, that's like saying, do you have a favorite child?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So they all mean something to me for different reasons. Sunflowers Beneath the Snow was my first.
Yes.
There's just something about
I love
the
the
first.
title. I'm going to have to go read that now.
Well,
First, I have to finish Peg.
okay. But, when it's your first, there's something about that.
Yeah.
The second one has a lot. It's kind of loosely based on my grandfather and my father.
Okay.
So there's a lot of family. I don't know. It's like kind of a feel good for me kind of book.
Right.
Daughters of Green Mountain Gap is doing really well. It just won the North Carolina Humanities.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so in 2026, it's one of the 5 books that they picked for the NC Reads. And so because of that, I'm thrilled for that book.
Right.
Then I've got my 10 Little Rules for a Double-Butted Adventure. Well, this was the trip of a lifetime.
Right.
And with Bruce having now passed, having
It's
this
your
book.
big memory.
Yes. And so, so how do you pick?
No.
And now
I
Peg
see.
Unhinged, I absolutely love her because she's been
Yes.
in my head for a long time, and I finally got her out on the page. So I can't really say I have a favorite. I can
Yeah.
say that Daughters of Green Mountain Gap is currently my best-selling of my books.
Okay. Why do you think that is?
I think because NC Reads picked it. I do.
Oh,
I think that it all of a sudden I went from being a small, rather unknown, is she really an author to, oh, you mean North Carolina Humanities picked her book?
What an honor, though. That's a wonderful honor.
Now we'll read. And so I've had more libraries reach out to me and to come speak and those kinds of things. And so I think it kind of just gave me a little bit of, that extra cherry on the top. She's not just an author, but she's an author that North Carolina Humanities picked.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Kind of like you're born in Greece. That gave you that
it just gave me the little different. So, sometimes that's all it takes is just that little extra thing. And then as an author, you have to, capitalize on that.
Right.
You have to be willing to go places and speak and do those kinds of things. And
Well, you're a great speaker. Do you force that on yourself, or does that come naturally?
So I forced it on myself 4 years ago, and now it comes naturally.
Okay.
And I hated speaking. It terrified me.
Really?
I would get almost physically ill.
Oh, my goodness.
And now it's like, oh, you mean I need to speak in 10 minutes? Sure, let's go. It doesn't bother me at all now.
Oh,
In
wow.
fact, I actually get a little bit of a charge out of it.
Oh,
When I'm standing in front of the audience, I love to make people laugh. And so I like to say something pretty early on to get people to laugh. And as soon as I have the crowd that has, let out a chuckle, I'm fine from that point on.
Oh, yeah. And they probably relax, too.
I think so.
Mhm.
There's something about laughter that really gets people to, I don't know, feel close to one another.
That's
And
true.
I also tell personal stories. And people like that too.
Yeah.
Because I'm just real honest. And I think that's the thing that comes out when I'm speaking is I'm just honest. I'll tell people all the time, does this look like a body that could ride across the United States on a bicycle? And everyone laughs because I do not have a body that looks like I'm a cyclist. And yet I made it.
And what about when you finished? Had your body changed?
A little bit. But what's unfortunate is, there's that thing called menopause. And despite riding 40 miles a day, I actually gained 7 pounds, and no, it was not muscle.
Really?
Yeah. Menopause. Gotta love it.
So unfair. It's so unfair.
My husband lost 15 pounds, and I gained 7 of it. Yeah.
Of course he did. He probably got muscle definition.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I like to have a quick fire round.
Super.
Where I throw things out at you and you got to answer. Okay. So short answers, whatever comes to your mind first. Now, you mentioned before, and this isn't what I planned on asking you, but you mentioned it. You said that you would sit down. You want someone to say, I would like to sit down with that character and have lunch. Not in your books, in another book. What character would you like to sit down and have lunch with?
So there is the book, A Gentleman in Moscow.
Uh-huh.
And
I've seen that on, I guess, Netflix,
Yes.
I think.
Okay, I would love to sit down with him.
Really?
He has He has such a way with words. I would enjoy just listening to him talk.
Really? Okay. All right. So, best place you ever lived as an Air Force brat?
It would have to be Athens, though I don't really remember it.
Okay.
But I've been back.
Have you?
Yes, I went
Okay.
back with my mom, and that was a
Oh,
that was
that's
a cool
special.
place. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Worst place?
I don't think there was one.
Good.
I really don't think there was one.
Do you think that helped you? Did you travel around a lot?
Not a whole lot, because
Mhm.
Dad got out of the Air Force when I was relatively young.
Okay.
But still, I think that, especially like moving here to North Carolina, that was probably my hardest move.
Gosh, 15 years old.
I think that
That's
was
tough.
that was the hardest, simply because of the age.
Right.
I was at that point where I had my friends
Right.
that mattered.
Yes.
At 15, you have friends that a
Well,
lot
your
of people,
friends are, that's all it is.
that's your life.
Yeah.
Right. And
Right.
they drug me to this, what felt like a foreign country. And I was, very unhappy. So it's funny that this was the hardest place, and yet this is now my favorite place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what about beach or the mountains?
Beach.
Definitely
I am a
beach.
beach. I'm 100% beach. I love the mountains. I think they're beautiful. They're wonderful for a 1-week trip. And
Right.
I live at the beach.
But you live at the beach.
Yeah.
What about dancing or bike riding?
Oh, I think, I love bike riding, but I think dancing, there's something, I love music. And there's just something very free about dancing.
Something free. Yeah. Okay. Favorite way to spend a completely free day?
By the pool with a book.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you read a lot?
I do. I read a lot. Or if I'm not by the pool with a book, then I like to go thrift shopping.
Thrifting.
Yeah.
That's a new thing for young folks too. My grandsons love to thrift.
I love a good deal. There's nothing better than walking out and knowing you've spent $2 for a $50 item. I don't know. There's just
I agree. Okay, one word to describe Peg.
Unhinged.
Oh, perfect. One word to describe you.
Oh, heavens, just one. Such a wordy person. I don't know, what's one word. You tell me. What one word would you use for me?
Fun.
I was going to say maybe enthusiastic. I don't know.
No, I think you're a lot of fun. Something small that makes you really happy.
Oh, laughter, like especially children. I have grandchildren, and hearing them giggle. My daughter will sometimes send me a video, and it will be one of the kids, and then you hear them laugh. And that there's nothing better than child laughter.
A book you haven't written yet that you want to write?
Ooh, I actually do have an idea for a book about Mary, the mother of Jesus.
Really?
Written where we see her as a mother.
Interesting.
Not as the
historical fiction, historical documentary.
Probably historical, but I want it to be more real. I want it to be not the Mother Mary that people understand with the halo and I want her to be, the diaper changing.
Right.
I don't know. And I'm not sure that I can write that, but it's been in my head.
You never think that. I've never pictured Mary changing Jesus's diaper.
Exactly.
I've never pictured that.
So there is a show on right now called The Chosen, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it's about the life. It's about the life of Jesus, and it's very real. And you see him, yes, as Jesus Christ. It's not in any way sacrilegious, but you also see him as a man. Right. As someone who loves his mother, as someone who loves the disciples that he's with, loves not in a godly love, but in a human care kind of thing. And you see him cry, and you see, and it touched me in such a way that I thought I would love to see Mary portrayed that way.
Yeah.
So can I do that? I don't know. I think that's, if I do that, it might have to be like another 10 years from now when I've gained even more writing ability. Okay. Because that's going to be one you have to be really careful with.
Right.
Because it could come across looking sacrilegious, and I would never want to do that.
No.
And so it would be a very tough.
And it's so emotional for people.
Yes. Yes. So.
Wow. Do you take writers' classes and do things like that, or
sometimes I
just writing improves?
Writing improves it. Reading improves it. Now when I read, unfortunately, I don't just read for pleasure. I'm reading for pleasure, and then the next thing I know, I'm going, how did they do that? How did they make that? Boy, that's a really good sentence.
Oh, yeah.
How did they get me to care about that character so much? Let me go back and check this out. So,
If Peg had a life motto, what would it be?
hang on. Hang on.
By your fingernails,
Yeah,
by
hang
your
on.
fingertips. So, okay, well, then is there a book, is there a character that's banging on your head right now that like Peg did?
So, yeah, I'm writing a story right now, and I'm starting it over at Weymouth right now. And it is a story about a woman she's younger, she's mid-20s, she's adopted, and she knows that she has Inca heritage, and she's become very obsessed with that and does her whole schooling around this. She becomes an anthropologist, and it's a dual timeline. And so I also have an Inca woman who creates something that's called a quipu, which is like macrame knots. And they used to think that these quipu only told number stories, like how many births they had this year.
Right.
They have found that they believe that they tell actual stories, narrative stories. So I have this Inca woman telling a narrative story, and the anthropologist now gets hold of this quipu, and then I think I'm going to have them be related.
I'm already fascinated.
So I don't really know where it's going.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the thing
so cool.
That's what I'm writing.
Oh, I love that idea. Okay, so Teri, one of my things that I do for all of my guests is I write you a jingle.
Oh.
So, here is yours.
Okay.
She's got stories to tell and a spark you can see. From laughter to life, she lets it all be. Turning truth into pages that leap off the page. It's Teri Brown, center stage.
Oh my goodness, is that awesome? Oh, wow. Like, I love that. How often do you get a jingle?
Yeah. I know, I love to do. I'm a retired music teacher. So that was my little thing that I thought, oh, well, that's fun for me to do. And it's fun for guests.
I'm gonna have to put that up on my website.
Yeah. It's yours. It's all yours. So now, for anyone listening, maybe an aspiring new writer, maybe someone who's, 55 and decided, I've always wanted to write a book. What's some advice that you can give them?
The first thing is go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Don't wait. Don't say, well, I have to do this first, or I have to take a class, or I need a degree, or anything else. You don't get better at writing by thinking about it. You only get better at writing by writing.
Right.
So start writing. Once you've got enough written and you start to kind of like what you've written, get a buddy. Find someone else who can tell you what they think. What you want is someone who is both kind and honest.
Okay.
So you don't want someone who just says, that's crap, because that isn't helpful.
Nah.
But you don't want someone who just says, oh, that's the best thing I've ever, because that's also not helpful.
Right.
So you need someone who can read it and tell you, hey, this really is working. This piece I got lost and I'm having trouble, or I need more of this character. It doesn't make sense. And listen to what they have to say and then go back and start making changes.
Okay.
And the only way to get better at writing is to write. You don't get better at writing by taking a class. You don't get better at writing by reading a book. You get better at writing by writing, just like you don't get better at playing tennis by reading a book about it.
That's right. That's right. Very good advice. I have 3 children, and 2 of them, the oldest and the youngest, are writers.
Awesome.
So they just write. And they have Two Crows Press. They have a little publishing company that they put together.
Yes.
So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. All right. So, Teri, for anyone listening who feels like they're in a season, maybe like Peg, where things aren't quite as put together as they used to be, maybe it's uncertain, maybe it's even unhinged. What do you say to them?
I think what I would say is everything you need, you have inside of you. The world may have covered it up right now. You may be unable to find it. It might not be evident, but you have within you what you need.
Inside.
It's there. And so work on discovering it again, because the world does a really good job of covering up and hiding and making us feel like we're not enough and can't be enough and will never be enough. And the
Right.
truth is that we are enough.
We are enough.
And we're good and we've got it in us. And if you can't find it on your own, reach out to people. There are people around you who can help you, help you
Yeah.
discover that again.
I
So-
love that. So if we want to read your books, we want to see what these books are and what's coming, what do we do?
The best thing is to go to my website, which is
Okay.
my name, Teri M. Brown, and it's Teri with one R. There on the website, you will find everything. All my books
Okay.
are for sale there. I have podcasts that you can go and listen to.
Okay.
You can sign up for my newsletter. You can find all my social media. So I'm on lots of different platforms. So if you prefer to follow me there, go to my website and then you can find all of my social media.
Okay.
And I even just have a contact me page. So if you wanted just to reach out and ask me a single question, that's the best way to do it.
Okay, good. And so we'll put that in the podcast description
Super.
to make sure everybody can find you. Today, I invite you to imagine this: a life where you don't have to have it all together to be exactly where you're meant to be. Imagine that the moments that feel messy, unexpected, or even a little overwhelming might actually be leading you somewhere better. We're so glad to have you here, Teri. Thank you for coming on the podcast. It was so much fun talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
And I laughed just like out loud like I did in Peg and Hinge. I was teared up, tears raining down my face when I was listening to you. So, I mean, how fun, Teri.
Thank you.
And as always, keep imagining more.
Imagine more stories that soar, business, life, and so much more. Laughs, lessons, and local delight. It's the podcast that feels just right. It's the Imagine More podcast.